Grand day all, and welcome to the Daily Huddle. It is a grand pleasure to be with you. As always, my name is Chase Steele Gray, and I'm joined by Gio and Sorel Keton. He's around somewhere. And it's another great day on the Daily Huddle. I have a great guest today, one of my great friends. His name is Carlisio. We'll get to him in a moment. But first, in honor of Carlisio, I'm going to start out this huddle today with a piano joke, or a pianist joke, actually. So the joke is, why is it dangerous for a piano player to cross the street? Gio?
Because
He's going to say something cool. I see it.
because sometimes you can get away. I don't know. I have no idea.
That was good what you did, though. That was cool. The answer is, if he doesn't see sharp, he's going to be flat.
Oh.
Roll the tape.
Okay.
Roll the tape, Gio. Do it.
Andrea, it doesn't get any better, Andrea. I'm sorry. Andrea.
Yes.
Have to be a musician to get this one.
Yes, indeed. You think you had to be a musician to get that one? You had to let it settle a little
B
bit, right?
sharp, B
It was-
flat.
it was tricky, right?
That's so cool.
You got that. I know it. Welcome, everybody, to the Daily Huddle. My name is Chase Gray. As you can see, these ambassadors of spirit, Sorel Keton and Gio, right there on the screen. Before we get into our amazing talk today, I always like to test the temperature of the waters here on the Huddle. We're going to call on a couple people. Let's start with you, Sorel. How are you? And who will you hug today?
I am the way I say I am.
That's true.
I am loving.
Oh.
And I want to hug Robin Stern, man.
Robert Stern gets a hug. You love it. Awesome. Hello, Andrea. I feel like I haven't seen you since Reagan was president. Wow.
That was
Andrea.
yesterday.
Who knows? Andrea, where are you? And where are you?
I am right where I need to be, which is right here.
Excellent. I'm going to go right into it today. I'm just going to keep that part short. I want my man to get some time. You know, it's so interesting in life. We have different people that are around us that, you know, are in our field or so on and so forth. This young man, his name is Carlisio Keys. We've played in bands together. We've done different things together. I find him to be a very passionate and deep soul. If we had our conversations recorded, we could fill up the whole rest of the year with this Daily Huddle. I mean, it's just amazing conversations. I really am happy to have him here today. And I want to introduce you to him. His name is Carlisio Keys. I'm going to give you a little bit about him before we start, because I know about him, but I want you to know about him. And I have something here, a little short bio, nothing crazy. Carlisio is a record producer, educator, mental health advocate, born in Los Angeles, California, based in Brooklyn. He strives to have an impact on others through music, being the catalyst, one of my favorite words. He is the founder of Let's Play, a teaching company where transferable skills are taught through the piano, primarily to children. Please welcome to the Daily Huddle, Mr. Carlisio Keys. Yes. Give it up.
Oh man, I gotta say that intro video to this was impressive. The Daily Huddle.
You like that, huh?
This morning was 5 only because I was tired, and I just went to an 8. I'm like in the room. I'm feeling good.
Gio made that all on his own. He's brilliant.
That was amazing. No, I appreciate you having me on, Chase. Yeah, I guess I'll just start by saying a little bit about myself. Or
No, you know what? I want you to unpack this concept, and I know that when you and I talk, we have a lot of different words and, you know, catchphrases, and we go, "Oh, that's good. Oh, that's good. Oh, I like that." You know, whatever. But this one, have you ever found yourself surrendering to a moment I think we touched on this a long time ago. And then when you said it, when I talked to you, I was like, I really want you to unpack that as it relates to somebody who may be dealing with depression or bipolarism or anything that when the moment comes and they're like, oh, like I'm here right now, whatever the case may be, like actually calling it out. I want to see how you unpack that. And I think it could be for anyone, musicians or whatever. I just think you and I have a kindred spirit of sorts, but I think it can be kind of pushed out to everyone. So unpack that for me, if you would.
Sure, yeah. So as soon as Chase asked me about this last night or yesterday, that was the first thing that came to mind. It's a conversation that keeps showing up within my students, within my friends and peers, and for me, so I was diagnosed with bipolar when I was about 14, when my brother almost died, and it was until I was about 28, so like 2 years ago, that I finally accepted being bipolar. I was given the space and a safe space to find.
Uh-oh. Muted. You're muted. Somehow you muted yourself. There you go.
Energy's too strong.
How did you mute yourself without your hands? What are you doing over there?
I don't know. Yeah, so I was diagnosed with bipolar at 14, and it wasn't until I was like 28 that I was given the space to finally say it out loud. What I had perceived to be the worst thing in the world, or perceived to be just something that well, just to bottom line it, when I was growing up, I grew up in a Latin family, a very Latin family. So Latin families, they like to sweep things under the rug. So it kind of made me feel like I should hide and not talk about it, because I'm the professor's son, so we have to walk in a straight line and all of that. So I was thinking of how many moments I surrendered to because I didn't have acceptance around what it is that I had, And this morning I was thinking, oh, it's so interesting. This question could actually be perceived two different ways. Are you surrendering to the situation in a moment? As in, are you letting go, and are you just allowing things to flow through you? But as I was asking the question, are you surrendering in the sense of, are you letting the situation control you? And for me, that was what was happening. I can't speak for anybody else, but speaking personally, I had to blame somebody or something. It got to a point where I was blaming food for my highs and lows. I didn't accept it. I was just running away from it. And my friend called me out on it. He's like, you just had that same sandwich a couple days ago, and now you're saying the reason you feel sick is because of the sandwich. So I was surrendering so much that I wasn't living my life powerfully at all. My reality was dictated to a lot of choices I made because I didn't accept it. Well, I gotta stay on that one for a second. Yeah. My reality was dictated to my choices, and so moving forward to my students, I always tell the parents, I don't really particularly care if they end up being avant-garde musicians. What I care about is giving these young kids the tools to be able to have a successful journey in life, whatever that means to them. I think Solero has a hand up.
Yeah, we'll definitely get to him. I just want you to flow, and we'll get to the questions in a couple moments. Absolutely.
Sure. So one of the things that I like to ask at the very beginning of analyzing is, what's your level of presence? Because oftentimes I find my students surrendering to something that happened in school, something that happened with their parents, something, and my philosophy is that if you're not present enough for this lesson, then nothing I teach you right now is going to matter. But not only that, bigger than that, your well-being matters to me more than whatever scale, whatever repertoire, whatever, anything that I left you, and these kids are very, very smart. They understand what I'm saying. It's not like I'm posing a question or saying something that just flies over their head, So for I had this other girl that she would her surrendering looked like, let's see, she would overthink everything, right? And I smile now because in my kids I see a piece of who I was and a piece of who I am in each one of my students.
Hmm.
And so I talk to my kids like I don't talk to them like there's a hierarchy, like I'm above you because I'm teaching you. You know, I find that the way, for me personally, the way to make children feel comfortable is to make them feel like they're equal. You know, and the reason children are important for me is because I want to be that person to that 14-year-old that I was, that had nobody to understand what I was going through. You know, that to me is more satisfaction. I feel like I did something valuable with my life than winning an award or playing a show or whatever. You know, all those things are fleeting. But if I can plant a seed into a kid and help them not surrender for a moment, then I feel like, okay, my life was like worth living. Yeah.
That's excellent. It's really, really good. You know what I was going to ask you, and I maybe I should have said this in the beginning. When you talk about bipolar and depression, are they one and the same to you? Because I've been around you multiple times and I've never seen you anything but at a high level of clarity and spirit and happiness. So can you give us a real life example of some time or a time where it kicked in around other people and how you dealt with it?
Oh, that's an interesting question. Well, so I've become a good actor when I was younger.
Okay.
It was more about acting than anything. Because I was afraid of like, what is this person gonna think if they see me in my highs or if they see me in the lows?
Right.
Now, with a lot of tools that I've gained over the years, it's more so, do I feel safe around your company? And if not, is this a relationship I care to entertain? You
Right.
know, doesn't make the other person wrong, right? There's no wrong or right. Sometimes people are mixing, sometimes they're not. You know, so this last year, I think I don't want to say I mastered it. The training's always going on, right? I don't
Right.
think full mastery of oneself ever, because you're always evolving. Well, speaking personally, I'm always evolving. Um, but so when I have my highs now, because I accepted it, it's really weird to explain. And I understand, like, when Kanye and all these artists say like they're having highs, like I understand that. You know, so when I'm having highs, it's not like I run away to want to black out or party, or, you know, it's like I'm gonna sit down and make like 100 beats. Like my mind just, I've learned to use that very fast energy and that very fast brain to something productive now. You know,
Right.
in my lows, I've learned not to surrender. You know, and I've given myself the opportunity, like, all right, you're gonna give yourself the time. All right, Carly, so take a nap. You know, don't make that nap a 20-hour nap, but take the nap, like relax. Because I can get overstimulated quick.
Mhm.
And I just allow myself, you know, the grace. You know, I think it's important to give yourself the same grace you would give to others,
Right.
so that I don't surrender. And I think I also back to your question. I bounce off of your energy when we talk, right?
Right.
That's how I know like you're one of those people I'll always have in my life, and I care to have in my orbit, because you bring out a side of me that to me is like, yo, I feel vibrant, I feel good, you know. There's nothing about Chase that's mirroring back to me all those things that used to mirror to me that made me feel like I was bipolar. You know, I don't even know if you do or if you even think about it when we have a
No,
conversation.
I don't think about it at all. You texted me and said every time you pop on my phone, I know it's going to be a good moment. And I was like, wow, thank you so much. That's what I'm saying about, like you said, you've learned to act through it. And I was asking you for a real life example, but I think you're at a place now, I'm just assuming, where you've learned to deal with it where it's so low that it's not recognizable, unless you're being confronted with some energy that is counter to being in a good place. Then maybe it might trigger you. I don't know. I've just never seen you in that. But when I see you, I'm in my favorite atmosphere, which is music. So nothing can touch me in that area. I don't get, I could have a death in the family, fracture my leg and have an eye ache, and I'll be on the stage. You'll be like, wow, he looks fine to me. Like that's just how it goes. So that's what I think is interesting about this conversation. What about the people who don't have that high place? How are they functioning all the time without a kind of a little area to create this haven for them? That's what fascinates me about it, right? And again, I'm talking to you, you're telling me about the bipolarism, but I've never seen it with you at all. That's why I wanted you to come on. I'm like, what is he doing? It's so great that he's able to connect through it. Let me see, for example, when I was talking and I saw this question come up, Fareed said, what's the difference between bipolar and double personality? That's interesting. Do you have an answer for that?
I mean, I guess a lot of things can be perceived as one and the other, right? Because there's different traits that belong in both, right? So I can't speak too much on double personality, but with bipolar, it's more so about some days I can have an elevated mood, some days I can have a lower mood, some days I can have both, right? So what I was trying to do, like all the work on myself, was like, all right, let me figure out different systems in place that I can put that'll help me. It's like a pendulum, right? Imagine a pendulum that'll help the pendulum move in an even fashion, right? Not too high and not too low. Because the thing is, what people forget about any illness, right? It doesn't go away. That's the biggest thing that I had to accept. This is never going to go away. So if I know it's not going to go away logically, how can I take that logic and emotion? I know it's never going to go away. So it's about figuring out ways to manage it, and I think oftentimes doctors don't even explain things well, and that leaves the person with like assumptions about, this is the worst thing in the world, like blah, blah, blah. It's just like, here's a pill, boom, the end. But they fail to explain that pill is actually a way to open all the things that you suppressed for like many years. So that shit's gonna go crazy for, excuse my language. It's gonna be crazy for a little bit, But it's like, what's the alternative? You either deal with it. This is what most people I see don't do. You're gonna deal with it, or you're gonna run into a wall. What kind of life do you want to live?
Yeah, this is so interesting to me, and I say that to you because I have someone in my almost immediate family who is an alcoholic, and when I spoke with them, I was like, "Well, you're going to these meetings. You've been going to these meetings for 10 years. Don't you feel better?" And she said, "No, I'm always going to be an alcoholic." And when you just said, "I'm always going to have this," my brain always scratches when people say that. I'm like, well, why can't you elevate after a while, like become stronger, have a different mindset? But I don't understand it because I'm not in your position, right? I'm being honest. Like I don't understand it. So when she said, "You don't understand, you're not an alcoholic," and I was like, okay, no problem. And I just let it go. So when you just said, "I'm always going to have this," I'm like, oh, okay.
So it's defined as a chemical imbalance, right? So it's
Right.
Also what I see, I like to call this like the new age of gurus. There's all people online trying to sell like a course, like, hey, join me in Hawaii for $5,000 and I will change your life.
Right.
And I see this overwhelming like feeling of, I call it, I don't know the word right now, but it's like, it's not this true happiness, and you can feel it, because nobody's truly 24/7 like on the high. It
Right.
doesn't exist. We're human.
Right. Absolutely.
So I even recognize myself in those people, because I used to be like that.
Right.
Because I was like, shit, I can't have people see a tear in my eye or talk about anything vulnerable. Like, that was kind of the environment that I was created in. It's like we're the family
Right.
at the university. You can't really express yourself.
Have you ever met somebody who had bipolar or was bipolar who said, "Man, I used to be bipolar and I'm different now. I don't feel it anymore. It's gone."
Oh my God. Somebody just told me this.
Really?
Yeah, it was, and I think it was bipolar. I think it was bipolar or something else. And in my mind, I was like, fuck. Like, oh man, it already started bad. Like it's but it's also that one thing where like, is it your place, Carlisio, to say something?
So that rubbed you the wrong way when they said, "I don't have it anymore," or that's why I was trying to ask you.
It didn't, because I understand that that's their journey, right? And it's their journey. But it's one of those things where like when and you see a situation from a bird's eye view, it's like, fuck, Excuse my language. Sorry. No, that's
The network's going to cancel us because of those 2 F words. Thank you so much, Carlisio. No, I'm just kidding. I was kidding. Go ahead.
I'll try to get somebody to edit it for you. No problem. AI is great for that. Okay, sorry. What was it? Oh yeah, when you see something from a bird's eye view, or when I see something from a bird's eye view, it's like I want to say something so bad. Why? Because it's that empathy kicks in. It's like and I know what it looks like to be like, I got this. Like I don't need a medication. I don't need therapy. Like I got. And then one of my friends was like, listen, you're asking all of us to subscribe to your shit because you don't want to take care of your shit. And I personally I had a lot of gratitude for that person, even though I hated him sometimes. I'm like, fuck. And then I thought about it and I was like, I only hate you because there's some truth in what you say. So I don't really hate you. I just hate these moments. And I surrender to those moments.
So much to unpack here. I want to get this question out right now. And is it Cece?
Yes, this is CC.
All right, Cece, I hear you. Go ahead, girl.
Yes, Mr. Keys. I didn't know how to pronounce your name properly, so I am acknowledging you for this great strength and power that you have to come out and share your story. Yes, I can speak for our family. We have all those mental issues in our family, and yes, it was keep it quiet, don't say nothing, nobody acknowledged it, and it became a family disease because there was much shame and guilt around the disease because it would come out in the best people in our family. And then when they didn't get any help, the disease just worsened. And so that's where the addictions came in. And so I want to acknowledge you because you are exceptionally bright. You have so many great qualities and you have a message to share with other people who are dealing with that. This is not an individual disease, it's a family disease because it affects the whole family. And I just want to thank you for coming out, for having courage to share your story and be vulnerable and transparent with it. Because so many people are not transparent. They are not vulnerable to acknowledge what it is. And yes, there is a way to be completely free from that. But that's a process, and everybody is growing at their own levels. So don't personalize, just say, God, you are blessing those children and you are blessing us with your presence today. So I just want to say thank you.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Beautiful. See, that's why I brought you here, Carlisio. I know my people.
It's already started so powerfully. I love you guys.
Mastermind Stan the man. What you got, my brother?
Thank you, Carlisio. Thank you for this platform. Thank you, Shay, for everyone. Carlisio, I just want to know, we have this kind of classic, or I don't know, I guess it's maybe it's a stereotypical look at it, and I'm not sure. Does bipolarism always manifest itself in the way that it's almost like a just to use a television scenario or a movie scenario, like a Jekyll and Hyde kind of thing, like you're nice one time and then you're mean another time? Is it always like that, or is it sometimes just going into yourself and being really, really just deeply like a feeling of depression and then feelings of exhilaration? Are those examples of them, or which one would be a more accurate example?
I'm actually glad you said that because that's a misconception of bipolar, because the way you just said it, the Jekyll and Hyde, that's to imply that there's a good side and a bad side, right? And I think everybody has, it's all relative, right? Everybody could have something that's perceived to be good and something to be perceived bad. And I think that because of that misconception and sometimes people can stay away from people with bipolar, without also realizing that a lot of these traits everybody has. And I remember having this conversation with somebody, and when I was in a phase where I didn't really accept it, and they were like, okay, so you're very happy sometimes and you're very sad sometimes. Okay, you're not living a singular experience, And that made me think about it, and the thing is, like, it's all circumstantial too. Every case is different, right? So imagine somebody that's um, by nature maybe an angrier person. Their experience is going to be different than maybe somebody that's not, or if their environment, I consider myself very blessed. Two loving parents who, even though in those moments they didn't understand it, they still did everything in their power to try to figure out what different tools they can help me have and research. So that alone, I think, helped my bipolarism, is having that love at home. Because if I would have had a different home scenario, then yeah, maybe you would have gotten more of Hyde or more of Jackal. One doesn't know. But I think these conversations around it is probably one of the first things to help people with bipolarism or other things with acceptance, right? My journey became a lot better as soon as I was able to accept it. It sounds very cliche, but I didn't have anybody to blame anymore, And shout out to COVID for that, where we were all alone with our thoughts and our journeys. And that's when I had a lot of time to reflect and apologize to. Because mine showed up as very passive aggressive. I was very sharp with the tongue. I was good. I could cut you up. I was almost too good. I didn't like it, because I needed to deflect, oh, this person is making my bipolar to be this, or this person is making this to be that. And at the end of the day, we can be hundreds of different versions to hundreds of different people. Who is one? Like, who are you when you go to bed? I know for me, I want to be a man of integrity, right? I want to be a loving person having an impact. And none of that has to do with being bipolar. It just has to do with being a person, And so oftentimes people can't separate someone's mental illness with just who they are. I'll give you a short example. This girl I'm talking to, she has this knack of, if I get upset, it's automatically, hey, you're having a moment. I said, no, I'm just getting upset, right? So if every time I get upset, you contribute that to me having a moment with bipolarism, I don't know if this is going to work. I don't know if that's healthy for me, But again, like I said earlier, sometimes people match and sometimes they don't, but I just want to show up in a space where I can help people just understand it more, not just for bipolar, like whatever you have, whatever one of these kids has in my class. I can always tell, like, if I just plant a couple seeds, it at least gets them, if they get at least thinking, if I can get them to think that what they have is not the end of the world and it can be their superhero cape, I did my job, So I don't know if that answers your question, but.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It's been there what I needed to know. I was kind of wondering, like, how a symptom might be, but it's all good. Thank you.
Thank you, Stan. We had a little audible problem with you. There's a fuzziness coming from your.
Oh, okay.
I don't know what that is. Just to let you know.
Thank you.
Ron, how are you today?
Hey, very good, guys, and thanks, Carlisio, for bringing it, for being here. Mental health issue. Two questions I have. One is, it's really looking at your success and how you go through the challenge and really still, be successful. Is any substance or any medication that really helped you along the way? Or do you have recourse to a mentor? Because I'm sure at some high, there is a need for some mental support. Or do you have a coach present to help you go through the process, or somebody that you recourse to say, okay, I'm having this, with a like a better word, this crisis, and you recognize it, and really having able to go to someone and say, okay, help me decipher this, to keep you in a productive mode. So, I'm looking at these two aspects.